Hey guys, it's Julia. Welcome back to my channel. Today, because it is Black History Month in the UK, I know this is different in, I believe, the States, but in October it is Black History Month in the UK. I am going to be talking about some books which are written by Black authors, and I have personally read all of these books and I really enjoyed them, and yeah, I just thought it would be cool to make some recommendations, because personally I'm so happy that through my love of reading and through books I have been able to educate myself more about you know like race and all the issues that comes along with it, and what it means to be Black in these days, because obviously I wouldn't know. So yeah, these books have really made an input and kind of impacted the way I think about it, and also just putting myself in other shoes, because I always want to educate myself. It doesn't matter if it's about race or religion or culture or what it's like to be living on the other side of the world, or I don't know. I think it's always important to educate yourself, especially about a topic which is so important right now, because obviously this year has been a shit year, but for many reasons, but also because racism is still very much a thing that is going on, not only just for people of different color, like Black people, but also all different kinds of racism exists. But of course, because it is Black History Month, I wanted to focus on books that are by Black authors and which I have personally enjoyed. I'm not saying that this is my opinion, and my opinion is what I'm trying to say is that this is just my opinion, and I know my opinion is obviously not the most has the best objective, because obviously I'm not Black, but these are books that I have enjoyed on that cover this topic and or just feature Black characters, and I have enjoyed it, and it made me think more about the topic, and I think that's really important, and especially if you are young and or if you have kids and maybe teenagers, I think it's so important to educate them, because yeah, it just is. So enough rambling, let's get on with the books. So yeah, I have 5 books here which are by Black authors, and I'm gonna go through them one by one. So this is not necessarily going to be like full review, because that would take me a very long while, but I'm gonna talk about them briefly. So in no particular order, let's get into them. These are mainly YA, but that's just because I like to read a lot of YA, and yeah, and I really enjoyed them. But to be frank, I think a lot of people from any ages can enjoy these books. I mean, I'm definitely not a teenager anymore. I'm like not even in my 20s anymore, and I still read a lot of YA and I still have enjoyed them, so it doesn't really matter. Anyway, let's get on with it. So the first book that I wanted to talk about is Tyler Johnson Was Here by J. Coles, and this is a book about a boy named Tyler. What is his name? The main character is Marvin, and he has a twin whose name is Tyler, and basically what happens is that after one night of them being at a party, Tyler goes missing, and then is eventually found to be murdered by a police officer after being involved in a gang activity, and it's basically about how Tyler, the main character, deals with this, of the death of his, not only his brother but his twin. And yeah, it's just a story about family and grief, and how he deals with it in that sense. And it was kind of refreshing to see, just, I don't know, because I feel like a lot of times when there's topics like this going on, I feel like it's always very much centered around, you know, of course, naturally, of a character's family, and how you know, all the events are happening. But I think it's really interesting to see it from the perspective of the twin, Marvin, and just how he deals with it. And there's I don't know, and it just, after this incident happens, Marvin, he just starts questioning what does it mean to be black, and because he hasn't really thought about it before. And yeah, so yeah, I just think that I don't know, I really enjoyed this book. The writing style is so so beautiful, and I don't know, it's just very, I don't know, it's almost like soft writing, if that makes sense. But yeah, I don't know, it's very, I really felt for the main character, Marvin, because he seemed to be quite a sensitive guy, and I don't know, you just really feel for him, to be honest. And yeah, I don't know, I really enjoyed it. So, and it's just very easy to read through, even though it's about a hard subject. It's definitely a page turner, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. So yeah, that's that one. I'm just gonna see if I can adjust my lighting a bit. I'm trying to work on it. Let me see. This is the first time that I'm using any kind of equipment, so yeah, there we go. Hopefully that's better. So yeah, Tyler Johnson was here. Really enjoyed that. And look at the cover. It's so pretty. Yeah, I really liked it. Obviously not for the cover, it's a beautiful story, but yeah, I really enjoyed that. Now, the second book that I'm going to recommend is by a Black Latinx author, which is Elizabeth Acevedo, and it's Clap When You Land. So I think everybody knows this book, and because with good reason, it has gotten a lot of attention. And I think everybody knows who Elizabeth Acevedo is, but in case you don't, Elizabeth Acevedo is a Black Latinx author, and she is of American and Dominican descent. Her parents are from there, and but I believe that she grew up in, I think in Brooklyn. I'm not sure. I think so. Let me see here. I don't know, it just says here that she lives in Washington DC, but I'm not sure exactly where she's from. But basically her heritage and where she is Black Latinx, and this book is, I think, so I have read two of her books. I have read this one, and I've also read With the Fire on High, by her as well, but I decided to include this book because I honestly feel like it's the one that I enjoyed most. I mean, I enjoyed both of them, like really, like a lot, and I gave both of these books 5 stars, but I really enjoyed this one. So Clap When You Land is about two girls. One is her name is Camino, and Camino lives in the Dominican Republic, and she always looks forward to the summers with her father. And and one day she is waiting for her father to come back for the summer and spend time with her like he always does. But while she is waiting for her father to arrive into the Dominican Republic, she finds out that he was actually killed in a tragic plane crash from New York to the Dominican Republic. And basically it's just about her and her dealing with this grief, but in the process we also follow, so there's two perspectives of this story. One is from Camino, but when we also follow Yahaira, and Yahaira is also originally from the Dominican Republic, but she is born and raised, I believe, in Brooklyn. And she so how these two stories connect, and it's not a spoiler, like we know this. So basically, she's born and raised in Brooklyn. However, she has always known that every summer her father goes to the Dominican Republic for business, or so she thinks. Actually, it turns out that when she finds out at the same time that her father was killed in this plane crash going to the Dominican Republic, in the process she finds out that essentially her father was living a double life, and he had another family back in the Dominican Republic, and they are actually sisters. And it's just about the story how they are both dealing with grief of her father, and it's also about family, and also just finding their own I don't know, just them dealing with the process and just about their lives. And it's, as I said, it's told from dual perspective, and I really enjoyed it. It's very much about culture and I don't know, both like of, you know, obviously Dominican culture and like Dominican black culture, and what that means, both from Camino's side but also from Yahaira's side, you know, because obviously you know, we're both black, but it's just interesting to see these different sides of the stories, because one is obviously in the Dominican Republic, Camino, and then Yahaira is obviously born and raised in America. So it's, you know, it's just interesting to see that side of the story and how they yeah, just their lives. So I have to say that although, you know, obviously both of these characters are black in this book, I don't think that's the main focus. Like, not the main focus, how am I supposed to say this? So obviously, for example, in some books like Charlie Johnson Was Here, obviously that follows an incident where about racism, and, you know, obviously like his brother getting murdered in a police incident, and it's very much, you know, that's the story and that's very much spoken about. In this book, it's more about like the story of grief and loss, that is the main focal point in the story, but obviously there are, you know, comments, and, you know, obviously we know that both of the characters, you know, that they're black, and, you know, just that's just part of who they are, you know. So, but I really enjoyed this book because, I don't know, it's just so sweet. This book is told in verse, and I have to admit, I was a bit hesitant to read it, but seriously, if you think that that's going to be an issue for you, don't even think about it, because I thought it was going to be an issue, but it wasn't at all. Like, I really loved this book, and I actually finished it, I think, in less than 24 hours. So, yeah. yeah, I don't know. I really enjoyed this one. So, and I can't wait to read the first. I think it's her first book. I believe it's the first book of Elizabeth Acevedo, which is poetry, and think it's called The Poet X. And I think that's the only book of hers that I have yet to read, and I can't wait to get to that one because I have read two of her books now, and I've both really enjoyed them. So yeah. Yeah, so I really enjoyed this one as well, by Elizabeth Acevedo. Okay, so the next book that I recommend is called Little and Lion by Brandy Colbert. And this book, I think, so this is a story about what's her name? Suzette. Yeah, I can never remember her character's name for some reason. I'm terrible, but hey ho. So Suzette, she lives in California with her family, and she has just come back from boarding school for the summer, and essentially she was sent back there. She's coming back from boarding school after being sent there after her family discovers that her half brother, Lionel, or his nickname Lion, Little Lion, has bipolar, or he is bipolar, and so basically she gets sent away because her family doesn't really know how to deal with it, and yeah, and they think it's the best thing for her. So anyway, she comes back from the summer, and it's just about her coming back and not only dealing with her half brother's bipolar, is it called bipolar syndrome, or just her, yeah, him being bipolar and the effects that come along with that. It's just about her dealing with that, and how you kind of see her half brother kind of spiraling downwards a bit, like, and it's just, I think he also has a depression, and it's just see how she and her family deals with it. But I think what is really interesting is that this book is told from a perspective of a multi-racial, how do you say it, like multi-ethnic, or like multi-racial family, because Suzette, she's black and she's also Jewish, but her half brother Lionel, as you can see in the picture here, he is white. So I've never actually seen that before in a YA novel, and I think that's really cool to include that, because obviously these kind of families who, not every family is one color. I know that's the case in a lot of in a lot of situations, and a lot of people that's the case, but there's so many families as well that, yeah, it's all shapes and sizes and colors, and I think that's really cool to be included about that. And it's just about her, this book as well, it's not only about her, it's like, how am I supposed to explain this? So yeah, this book is not, it's not just focused on that. It is covered, and it's definitely, because the main character, she is black, and well, yeah, I would say she's the main character, but because she is black, like, obviously we know that, and that's, I think that's so cool. But obviously that's not the main thing we just talked about, but obviously it's her, and I think it's just cool to have that representation, because I don't know, and I just really enjoyed it for so many reasons. Like, this book not only covers, like, has lots of cool representation in terms of race and, like, main character being black, but also it talks about, mental health, and, like, about depression, and, like, people who have bipolar, and who are bipolar. I can never say that correctly. Like, if you have that, please tell me and correct me how I'm supposed to say that, because I don't want to say it wrong. But yeah, about that. And then it's also just about family and like different kinds of families, and I just think it's so refreshing. And it's also a part, like, not only that, like the main character, trying to figure out her sexuality, because she doesn't know if like if she's completely straight or if she's bisexual, or and yeah, it's just, I don't know, I think it's just has such good representation on so many topics. And yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I can't wait to read more of Brandy Colbert's other books. And I think this one has gotten quite a lot of good press as well, because obviously you can see here it has gotten the Stonewall Book Award. So yeah, I mean, it's award winning. So I mean, obviously I would still have read it if not for that. I mean, but it's just, I guess, another perk. But yeah, I really enjoyed this one as well. So I have 2 books left. One is a young adult fantasy, and then another young adult contemporary. And I think I'm going to mix it up a bit, because all of these books that I've just talked about now, these ones, have been young adult contemporary, but I'm just going to mix it up a bit and talk about the young adult fantasy book, and that is The Bells by Dhonielle Clayton. And this is a story about the main character, her name is Camellia, and essentially this story is told, so it's a YA fantasy novel, and essentially I think it's like inspired by New Orleans, because so it's because the story is set in a kind of New Orleanian scene, where there's this group of girls called the Bells, and essentially their world where they live in, it is the greatest thing that you can ever be in this world is to be beautiful. As crazy as that sounds, but anyway, that's what it is, and that's the main thing in this world, what it's about. It's all focused around beauty, and that's your highest goal of anyone, is to be beautiful. And these group of girls, who Camellia, the main character, is part of, is called the Bells, and essentially they are born with magical powers, so they can give treatment, and they can essentially make people beautiful and enhance their beauty. And every year there's a ball, and where all the bells go to, and essentially one of them is chosen as the favorite. What is going on with lighting? Hope that's okay. So yeah, one of them is chosen as the favorite, and essentially the favorite is picked out of all the bells, and basically her role is to go and serve the royal family and provide beauty treatments. All of the bells, their job is to provide beauty treatments to anybody in this society, in this world, who wants them and needs them. Because the objective of the world is to be as beautiful as possible. But yeah, anyway, and however, the favorite, that gets picked at the ball, she goes and works for the royal family, and essentially the story is about how Camellia, she gets picked after a turn of events. She gets picked as a favorite and goes to work for the royal family and the queen, and however, there's something not quite right there about, I don't know, the whole thing, like there's something that it's not quite right. like Camelia, our character, she gets questions about like what is actually going on there. And yeah, it's just basically how it that's the story. And obviously this book also has a great representation because the main character is black, as you can see from the cover. And yeah, but also that's the thing, like, yeah, it is talked about, but you just know that it's there. And I think that's the so cool, because I think, I don't know how I'm supposed to say this in the correct way, but for me, like, I think obviously it's so important to talk about racism and, the issues that come along with it, and, and about injustices that goes along with racism. But I think for certain people, or not for certain people, but I think it's just important to have the everyday representation in all kinds of books, including a YA fantasy. And I have to be honest, I haven't, well, first of all, I don't read a lot that much of fantasy. Well, I've started to, but before I didn't. But when I started reading this one, this is like the first book, which is a YA fantasy where the main character was black, and I really enjoyed it. I found it really refreshing because I have to admit, you don't see that on an everyday, like, a lot of the books, that's not often the case, and I just think it's so cool that that's the case in this book. And I can't wait to read, I can't wait to read the second book. I think it's called The Everlasting Rose, and I believe this part is the first book of a duology. And yeah, but no, I really enjoyed this one, and I just really enjoyed the idea of, like, in a not a sarcastic way, but it's just the idea of a world where the main point is to be as beautiful as you can, and that's the main thing. And then, as it says on the cover, beauty can be deadly. Like, it can have negative effects as well, which I think must certainly be a commentary about social and how do you say, certain issues in the real world. So that would be really interesting to find out more about that. But no, in any case, I really enjoyed it. So yeah, that's The Bells by Dhonielle Clayton. Okay, so the final book, which I really enjoyed, and I think this is a book that kind of really got me into reading about black main characters, and trying to educate myself about racism and the whole all those things that goes along with it. And I think and I read this book, I think it was like 2 or 3 years ago. I can't remember when it came out, but I read this at least 2 years ago, and this is a book that kind of started it for me, and that is The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. And I know that this book is very much loved, and it's very well known, and for good reason. This book is such a beautiful story, and such a powerful story. If you don't know what it's basically about this girl. Her name is Star, and essentially it's about her when what happens to her, and her finding her voice after her best friend gets he gets murdered. I think he gets shot by a police officer in their area, and essentially this is, I think, one of the books that kind of started I wouldn't say the trend, but it's like I think these was one of the first young adult books that covered the subject of Black Lives Matter, because I know it's inspired by that movement, and yeah, it's just and I think it was one of the first ones that actually spoke about it, and I think, well, I know it was definitely one of the first books that kind of really started it for me, because yeah, before this book I hadn't really read much about the topic. Of course I knew that it was going on, but for me this book is so important because it's just, obviously I'm not black, and it's just, and I don't know what it feels to be that, and you know, especially being like a black teenager. I'm not a teenager and I'm not black, and it's just and also like being a black American teenager especially, I don't know what that's like at all. So this book, it just gives me an insight to know how that feels like, and I really love this book. It's like you really feel for this main character Star and what she goes through, and it's like after this incident that happens to her best friend, obviously it affects her very, you know, a lot, and she has to make decisions like to, you know, just finding her voice and speaking up, and yeah, I don't know, it's so good. I love this book so much, and this book has also been turned into a movie. I think it's on Netflix. No, I can't remember. I think it's on Netflix. If it's a Netflix original, but I'm not sure. But it's on Netflix, and it's called The Hate You Give, and it's also really good, the movie. And it's just such an important story. It's just, I don't know. It's so good, and you really feel for her character. You see her pain, you see her struggle. You really feel for her, like how she's suffering and how she's grieving throughout the book, and you feel so much, and like eventually she finds her voice, and she learns how to deal with, you know, this grief, and but it's, and you know, she gets up from it. As hard as it may be, she gets up from it, and it's just so, you know, you feel really proud of her in the end, because I mean, I'm not spoiling it, but yeah, you feel really proud for her, and because you feel for this character, and it's like, I don't know, it's so good. Definitely check it out, and I love this edition. I actually have 2 editions of this book, but I love this edition, like with the sprayed yellow pages, and it's just so good, guys. So yeah, yeah, I think definitely this book is my favorite of all of these books that I've talked about. I mean, obviously all of them are great, because I think it's so good that you know, to see this kind of representation in young adult books, and well, books in general. But I mean, there's so many other books that you know, have black characters in them, and you know, talk about that subject, but especially for like this kind of genre and age range, I think it's so good that there's so many options there. But as I said in the beginning of the video, you know, I'm 32, and it's like I still enjoy these books so much, so I think anybody should pick up any of these books, and you know, read them, because yeah, I think it's necessary, and I think it's necessary for people to educate themselves. And I'm not saying just because I've read all these books that I'm educated. No, you still have to educate yourself every day about it, and when I say it, I talk about all different kinds of things. Whatever you don't know about, educate yourself about it. But yeah, in honor of Black History Month, these are some of the books written by black authors that I recommend. I really enjoyed all of these books, and I really hope that you do too. Go check them out. I'm gonna leave a list of all the books that I mentioned in the description, but yeah, I really hope that you enjoy them, and I urge you to have a go, because you won't regret them. I enjoyed every single one of these books for different reasons, and I enjoyed all of the characters in these books. So yeah, go and check them out. Okay, so yeah, those were my recommendations. Please put down below your recommendations about books that are written by Black authors, because I really want to expand my, how do you say, I'm always wanting to look for new books that by Black authors that I can read, and yeah, I just want to expand and keep on reading about it. And not only, you know, I mean, obviously I've talked about books that are written by Black authors, but any kind of diverse books I'm always on the lookout for. So if you have any recommendations, please tell me, because I really want to know. Anyway, I hope you're all doing well. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please remember to like and subscribe, because that would really help me out. Please also go and check out my Bookstagram account, which is at I'd Read More Books, because I'd love to connect with you on there. And yeah, I don't know. I really hope that you enjoyed it. I love all of you, and I hope you're having a great day. I'm recording this on a Friday, but I don't know when it's gonna go up, but I hope you have a great weekend, and happy Black History Month, you know, wherever you are, and happy reading. Alright, I'm gonna end this here. Bye guys!